Coach O, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Great to be on your show. Great to hear you guys' voices.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely.
Good to talk to you, Coach. I know before we get into all the information and everything coming out, football and everything going around the program, you're from South Louisiana, from a great part of the state, a great part of the world, and you guys lost a legend this week in Bobby Hebert Sr. I know that was something that touched your family very deeply.
Yeah, somebody very close, obviously. Bobby and I are very close teammates in high school, roommates in college. Mr. Bobby was very influential in me growing up. He was a leader in the community. He always pushed us in sports. He always pushed us to do the right thing. He was a motivator. We're going to miss him. He did a lot for everybody down the bayou. What a great man. I know he's proud of Bobby and T-Bob's accomplishments and all of his family. What a great man.
Thank you very much, Coach. That really does mean a lot to me and my family. But we'll take it to a happier place as we're all kind of missing football, so we're talking football. We've been listening to Joe Burrow on Coach K's podcast. You went on there as well. Spectacular. But I want you to take us back, if you can, to when you were first pitching Joe Burrow on coming to LSU. I mean, I always think about the quotes after the Miami game where Burrow's like, I got down here, and I looked around. I was like, damn, there's a lot of talent here. What was that initial pitch? And do you remember Burrow kind of telling you that, where he's like, Coach, you got some players here?
Yeah, first of all, we were during spring practice. My son Cody was watching Ohio State spring game at McNeese, and he heard that Joe Burrow was transferred. He called me and said, Dad, you got to get this quarterback.
Whoa.
And I asked Bill Bush, I said, Bill was at Ohio State. I said, you know a guy named Joe Burrow. Here's what Bill Bush told me. He says, Coach, if we get Joe Burrow, we go into the college football playoffs.
Damn.
I said, well, let's go get him.
Let's go get him.
That's all I needed to hear, because Bill had saw the talent of our team. And he said, Coach, this guy could get us there. So Joe came down, and to be honest with you, Joe didn't want to hear no recruiting. It was amazing. He didn't want to. He just wanted to talk football. And we went to football meeting. You've heard me say this many times. There were 6 people in that meeting. And when I walked out of that meeting, I was convinced and I was sure that the smartest person in that room by far was Joe Burrow. And I was in there. And I was in there included, and I didn't mind. I promise.
Hey, well, so
and I just said to myself, this guy is phenomenal. And so we went out that night. We got the crawfish. The next day, he was going to Cincinnati. I'm convinced. And so I made a connection with his mom and dad, obviously, but I did make a connection with his brother Dan. And on Monday morning, I called Dan, and Dan said, well, Coach, is going to be his decision. I said, enough of that. Hey, Dan. And I used a couple of explicit words that I'm not going to say. I said, that Joe Burrow's best player is LSU. Dan, you got to man up and call him. and Joe Burrow was not taking anybody else's phone calls but the family. So Dan was the MVP of the whole deal. He got it done. Now, in hindsight of everything, Dan got rewarded. We're playing the Auburn game, and I think Dan goes to the concession stands and meets a beautiful young woman from Auburn.
That's right.
What?
And now they're getting married.
His wife.
So he got Joe got the Heisman, and Dan got the wife.
That's a great story.
You got the girl. That's awesome.
So wait, Coach. So you got Go ahead.
And we got the national championship.
Yeah. Everybody got rings.
Everybody got rings.
Rings. It's all good.
So you got players flying up draft boards. I just saw the current mock drafts. Got Patrick Queen in the top 20 with Justin Jefferson right behind him. But Joe Burrow has been the mainstay at number 1 throughout this entire process. When teams call you about him, and I guess it's just Cincinnati, what do you say to teams about Burrow and what they're getting?
Winner, all the intangibles, incredible leader, tremendous focus. I said before, and I know Joe doesn't want to be compared to Tom Brady. I'm not comparing them to. But I often think that the intangibles, I don't know Tom Brady, but I've heard about him that he has. I'm sure Joe will be as comparable to the intangibles that Brady has.
How valuable? I mean, we heard Joe talking to Coach K, and it sounds like his work ethic was just absurd when it came to watching film, preparation, being in that meeting room. How valuable do you think that was for a guy like Miles Brennan, who could kind of learn those techniques and learn that workflow from Joe Burrow?
We couldn't ask for a better guy than the Miles to be under. It was perfect for Miles. I talked to Miles yesterday. He weighed 219.
Yeah.
And, Miles came to us at soaking wet 170. I know that for sure. And but I do believe he was a good leader, and Joe led by example. I like his work ethic, but I think the thing that Joe had most was his focus. He had a laser focus that I've never seen in a football player before.
Wow.
How's your interaction with your team right now? How are you handling this time away from your team and with the task of coaching your team?
Yeah, you know what? First of all, we got to stay ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
I told the team that it's a level playing field. We got to compete. We got to be elite. We got to set the LSU standard of performance. Obviously, it's different, but we had a plan to get into this week. We talked as a coaching staff on the phone. Everybody is on the phone with our guys. They're allowed 2 hours per week on the video. Our guys are putting in installation. They're making corrections. We have a academic task force team that are on the phone with our guys constantly, making sure they're on online class and tutorials. We're checking just like we were going to school. So we're trying to make it as realistic as we can. Obviously, it's a little bit different. Some of our guys are still in town. Most of our guys are at home. Obviously, their safety to us is first. Football's going to come. We will be ready.
Speaking of academics, shout out to Walt Holliday, my guy, being named executive director of the Cox Center over there. Coach, so you talked about how you're dealing with this year's team during this pandemic and social distancing. What about recruiting? How has that landscape changed, or is it normally over the phone at this time of year anyway?
Actually, it's better because they're all home. They're bored. They can't wait. They FaceTime you back. They hit you back on Twitter. I'm able to talk to recruits all day on the phone. I'm in the office. I come in the office. I get my computer. I go home and I watch all my recruits, and I get to text them. They call me back. It's been tremendous as far as being able to contact recruits because they're at home and they're bored. They want to talk to you.
How's your interaction with your staff?
Good. We talk every day. Here's our schedule. At 8 o'clock in the morning, our coordinators call our position coaches, and they put in the install of the day, and they meet in that virtual Zoom room. I still don't know what that is, and I really don't care. I let them do it. Yeah, the Zoom room, whatever they call it. And
the Twitter machine.
And then at 9 o'clock, our position coaches get on the phone with the GAs or in the Zoom room with the analysts, and they come up with tips and reminders and installation. And by 1 o'clock, our guys have that, and they watch it, and then they set a meeting time with their coach, and they give them a report. Every day they have a certain time that they have to call their coach, and they give them a report. So we stand on top of them every day, and our academic guys are calling them. Thank God we have a lot of help. It takes a lot of help to do this. But I do believe our guys are working out on their own. They're doing the best that they can. And we'll be ready to go whenever they call us to.
Yeah. LSU head football coach Ed Orgeron joining us here, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. I know you don't listen to anything and read anything about what you guys have accomplished and what they're saying about you, but you've entered this stratosphere of a championship coach that has this reputation that can build a program and sustain. It sounded like when you sat down with Mike Krzyzewski that you kind of realized that for the first time, that people were paying attention to what you guys were doing down here. To hear Kay talk about the respect he had for you, your program, players like Burrow, and what they're accomplishing, what was that moment like for you? That was about as good a sit-down and conversation that I've heard between two coaches in my time in media.
It was phenomenal. I didn't expect it. I look at my schedule during the day, and I kind of don't study ahead too much what I'm getting to do. And they say you have an interview with Coach K, and I went, Coach K of Duke? Okay, that was just 5 minutes. Okay. And then after that, what a great coach, what a Hall of Famer. I was just just amazed to know how much he knew about our program and how much he cared about it. It just lets us know how great of a coach he is to have the insight that he had in our program and how aware of it he is of coaching. So I was just amazed, and I give all the credit to our staff and our players. I got a tremendous group with us.
How much do you? So we all know about the lessons that you learned from Pete Carroll and how that you've applied that here. How much studying do you do in the offseason of other coaches, or maybe like talking to guys like Coach K, trying to pick their brains? How much of that evolution continues?
You know, every summer, Bobby April sends me a book. And Bobby April is one of my mentors. And last year, now, I don't know if I'll be honest, I don't know if I ever finished a whole book in my life, okay? except the ones I had to read at school, right? Anyway.
Good catch there. Yes, except the required schoolwork to be eligible.
That's right, kids.
Yeah, but I was reading a little bit on Bill Walsh, and Bobby said it to me, and he was in San Francisco, and he was talking about their standard of performance. And that's why I got the LSU standard of performance, because I thought our team could handle it.
Wow.
So I do get little. I read some Jimmy Johnson. I read some Pete Carroll. I do read a little bit about coaches, but mostly I get it from my experience with Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson.
In the people that you talk to and responsible for making these types of decisions, do you think football season's in jeopardy?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the health of our country, what I'm hearing now, I'm just like everybody else, man. I'm just speculating. I think there's going to be a spike, and then there's going to be a flatten out, and I think we're going to get back going, and I think we're going to be back to normal, hopefully for this summer. I don't know that, but that's what I'm thinking, and we're going to have a football season, and on we go.
You've been a great spokesperson for our state, a great face for this. We appreciate your time this morning. We know you're busy. Thank you, Coach.
Anytime, guys. Go Tigers.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Coach.
There he is, Coach Ed Orgeron, checking in from LSU football.